What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: Caleb Plant talked the talk, but was unable to walk the walk. Stopped by a believable knockout. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glaze, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fan. Well, the Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant fight is in the history books, and it was an epic battle. But unfortunately for Caleb Plant, he came up short, and he was stopped in brutal fashion with an 11th round knockout by Canelo Alvarez in his fight and his quest to become, or his quest for greatness. As the build up to the fight, went on, we saw Caleb Plant, who, talked confidently about defeating Canelo Alvarez. Like I said, he talked the talk. He was talking strong. He talked confident. But unfortunately, not unlike many of Canelo Alvarez's former foes, Canelo Alvarez folded up Caleb Plant like a lawn chair in the 11th round and stopped him. And that's basically what happened. I mean, it lasted a little bit longer than the previous fight with Billy Joe Saunders, where that fight was stopped in the 8th round with a brutal knockout where Canelo broke the orbital bone, broke the eye socket of Billy Joe Saunders and stopped him in the 8th round. In this fight, he knocked out Caleb Plant in the 11th round, which is 3 rounds later. So Caleb Plant went a little longer than usual than most of Canelo Alvarez's fans, but ultimately the result was the same. He was stopped in the 11th round. And so it is what it is. Now, I had predicted that Caleb Plant, if he was able to use the Mayweather blueprint, as we all know, Mayweather was the only guy to defeat Canelo Alvarez. I made a prediction that if Caleb Plant was able to use the Canelo blueprint and stick to that blueprint, he would be able to defeat Canelo Alvarez. But unfortunately, Caleb Plant was unable to stick to the game plan, unable to stick to the Mayweather blueprint, was unable to execute the Mayweather blueprint. I don't even know if he actually was able to even read it. But he must have done something because he was doing pretty good for the first 11th round. And there's an argument out there to say that Caleb Plant was actually winning the fight before he got stopped. And, that's not an unbelievable state of events because, as we know, Amir Khan, when he fought Canelo, he got stopped in the 8th round as well, but he was outboxing Canelo for the most of that fight until he got stopped. And that was basically the same thing going on last night with Canelo and Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant looked pretty good for the first couple of rounds, but as usual, what happened is that, it takes a lot of concentration to be able to focus and concentrate for 12 rounds to avoid a knockout from a guy who's stalking you for, 12 rounds. And Mayweather was able to do it, but unfortunately, Caleb Plant did not have the same success, which just makes, Mayweather's accomplishment all the more greater when we think about it, because here's a guy, Mayweather, who's not as big as Caleb Plant, doesn't have the reach of Caleb Plant, doesn't have the size, height, and Mayweather was able to defeat Canelo, and Caleb Plant was unable to do it. So again, it just raises Floyd Mayweather's stock just a little bit higher. The better Canelo gets and the more win that Canelo has. So now Canelo is, undefeated. Well, not undefeated, but undisputed, I should say. And he did that by stopping Caleb Plant. Now, Caleb Plant, in that fight, when we look at it, he was outboxing Canelo for a good part of the fight. Okay, he was doing great, but again, he started. I thought that by the 6th round he started getting tired. He seemed visibly fatigued after the 6th round, and he didn't deteriorate completely, but little by little he started deteriorating, started getting a little sloppier as the fight went on. Stopped using the jab as much as he was in the first 3 or 4 rounds. And once he stopped using the jab as much, Canelo started getting closer and closer to him. And because there wasn't no jab to keep Canelo away, and eventually Canelo got close enough to be able to deliver that left hook that, stunned him, and then delivered the right uppercut to his jaw that put him down. And once he was down and he got back up, Canelo didn't waste any time in finishing him and putting him away permanently. So that's basically what happened. I mean, at the end of the day, Caleb Plant had nothing to be ashamed of, really. He put up a great fight, a better fight than most people have put up against Canelo. But again, the fight ended up, I should say that Caleb Plant ended up losing in a perfectly believable manner. It wasn't nothing unbelievable about his defeat by Canelo. That defeat was perfectly believable. Okay, now Caleb Plant had said that, he wanted to do unbelievable things and he wanted to live an unbelievable life. But unfortunately for Caleb Plant, his knockout by Canelo Alvarez was perfectly believable in the end. And that's what most people believe was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. He got knocked out. So it is what it is. What Caleb Plant's going to do next, we don't know. But he collected his paycheck and he's on his way now. I mean, if we compare this fight to the fight with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, I mean, Caleb Plant performed better than Deontay Wilder did. So really, we could look at it as a fight where Caleb Plant put up an epic struggle, and unfortunately, Canelo was just a better man that night. Okay, and Canelo was able to stop him in the end. So I mean, if we look at Deontay Wilder fight and looking at Deontay Wilder, that was a classic fight. We're gonna have to look at this fight the same way. It was a classic fight. Canelo put up an epic struggle. I mean, Caleb Plant put up an epic struggle. Unfortunately for him, he was unsuccessful. And the fight, like I said, ended in a perfectly believable fashion with Caleb Plant on the floor, knocked out, stopped by Canelo. So this is what happened. It's going to go in the history books. Canelo is now the undisputed 168-pound champion. He's at the top of the he's at the top right now when it comes to boxing. He's at his, in his prime, and he's at the top of the food chain. He's the money man in boxing. Okay, right now everything he does is money, especially now that he has that undisputed label, to use to market himself. And I'm pretty sure, that's all we're going to be hearing from now on, is how he's undisputed, and it's going to be a big part of his marketing and promotion moving forward. Okay, and so what he's going to do next, we don't know. Obviously, he's going to take some time off, rest, and then decide what he wants to do with his career from there on in. But as far as his future is concerned, that is Canelo's future, it's nothing but it's gold, it's money. He's undisputed, he's at the top of his game, he's young, and he's at the top of the boxing food chain right now, in the prime of his life. So probably nothing but big things going to happen from here on in for Canelo in terms of fights. He can pick any fight he wants, really, make any fight he wants now that he's undisputed. So let's see what he's going to do. For Caleb Plant, we don't know what the future holds. David Benavidez that would talk about fighting Caleb Plant, whether he won or lost against Canelo. That might be a pretty good fight. I mean, it's not like Canelo blew Caleb Plant out the water. He didn't just, totally demolish him. The fight was contested right up until the last minute of the knockout. The knockout came with in quick fashion. Almost unexpectedly. Actually, it was unexpected, the knockout, because nobody thought that Canelo was getting ready to knock him out. The fight was, was very closely contested, and Caleb Plant was doing, a pretty good job in there against Canelo. So some would even say he was winning the fight until the knockout. So, but at the end of the day, Canelo was victorious, and most people thought that's exactly what was going to happen, that Canelo was going to knock him out, and that's exactly what happened. Canelo knocked him out. So there was nothing unbelievable about the life that Caleb Plant lived in this fight. It was perfectly believable. Canelo knocked him out as most people believed would happen, and that's exactly what happened. But like I said, he put up an epic struggle. It was a great fight by Caleb Plant. But unfortunately, his boxing skills, although there was great skills, but, just fell short. Wasn't able to keep his focus going. Wasn't able to stick with the plan to stay away from Canelo. Didn't use the jab as much as he should have toward the end of the fight. He stopped using the jab. I don't know why, but again, this was a fatal mistake in his plan to upset Canelo, and the rest is history. So yeah, Canelo is undisputed. Plant, I don't know where he goes from here. Obviously, there's still some fights left out there, the 168 pounds, against other opponents. But right now, Canelo is the big man sitting on top of the at the top of the 168 pounds, and anybody that wants a crack at the title, any title at 168 pounds have to come through Canelo, because he's the man, and he has all the titles at that weight division right now. So he could possibly move up and fight somebody else, or move down if he so desires and fight somebody else at a catch weight. We don't know what he's gonna do, but everybody's gonna be waiting to see what Canelo is gonna be doing next. So at this point, Canelo is definitely the man at 168 pounds, the man in boxing right now, as a matter of fact. And, we're going to see where he goes from here as far as his boxing career is concerned. With that said, I'm going to leave it there. That's all I have for right now. This is TBE Boxing saying, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, hit the bell icon. Go to tbeboxing.com. Check out the latest comments, headlines, and boxing commentary. For now, TBE Boxing saying, I'm out.